is latitude, what is longitude, what is hemisphere, what is equator, what is poles, what is international dateline. Okay, so let's start.
The globe is a smaller scaled Earth. It shows us the shapes and locations of the continent, oceans, and the countries, and the locations of the important cities as well. We can only see half the globe at one time. However, you can turn the globe around to see the other half. Globe can be turned around a line passing through it. This line is called the axis. Axis is not straight, it is tilted at an angle of 23.5. The earth constantly rotates or turns around its axis of rotation. The axis of rotation of the globe is similar to that of the earth. Poles. The two endpoints of the axis of rotation are called the poles. To the north is the North Pole. To the south is the South Pole. Hemispheres. Equator midway between the poles is an imaginary line. Circling the earth is called the equator. Here we can see that middle line that is called the equator. To the north of the equator is called the northern hemisphere, and to the south of the equator is called the southern hemisphere. The latitudes and longitudes. Latitudes. Latitudes are the horizontal lines are drawn parallel to equator and go around the earth. Latitudes and longitudes are marked in 0 degrees and 0 minutes. Features. Latitudes runs parallel to each other in the east to west direction, whereas they are at an equal distance from each other. All of them from complete circles except the north and south poles, which are points. The latitudes decrease in length as you move from the equator to the poles. The equator is marked 0 degrees. The North Pole is 90 degrees to north and the South Pole is 19 degrees to south. Thus, the latitudes of a place tells us how far north or south a place is from the equator. The important latitudes, equator and poles. So in this case we can see that Tropic of Cancer at 23.5 degrees of north, the Arctic Circle at 66.5 degrees of north, the Tropic of Capricorn at 23.5 degrees of south, the Antarctic Circle at 66.5 degrees south. Longitudes. The lines of the longitudes are the semicircles that run from one pole to other pole. They are spaced far, furthest apart at the equator and come together to a point at the poles. The latitudes and the longitudes cut each other at right angles. Longitudes are marked in 0 degrees and 0 minutes. Features: the longitudes running through the Old Royal Observatory at Greenwich near London is marked 00. It is called the Greenwich meridian or the prime meridian. There are 360 degrees of longitudes. 180 degree of longitude east of the prime meridian, and the 180 degree east and 1 degree west longitudes meet and form a single line on the opposite sides of the world is called the international date line.
Hope you guys will enjoy this lecture and you all know clear about this, what is longitude, what is latitude, what is equator, what is the south and north hemisphere, what is the south pole, what is north pole, and what is the international date. Thank you so much.